Welcome to my latest experiment. This is a big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. Your ass was banging, and your titties was fat. I wanted to fuck that. But fuck that. I never gave a fuck that. You put me through the courts and gave me genital warts. My name's Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
And I am Guy Pigden. It's an interesting selection.
That is Detroit's finest, the Insane Clown Posse.
It's a tale of woe by the sounds of it. Sounds like it was not a great relationship.
No, it's probably not his best one. That's actually, if I recall correctly, from the song that they did with Old Dirty Bastard, Your Mate.
Really?
Yes. Bitches, I believe it is called. If I'm not mistaken.
That's good. Well, welcome along, everyone, to the Guy and Harley podcast. This might be a bit short. We're a bit last minute. We're busy. We've got things to do.
Busy people.
We've got shit to do.
Exciting times. The zombie film is just been released in the United States, so we're busy trying to promote that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a major announcement.
Yeah, it is. We really need to work on making it seem like a major announcement.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like as I was saying, this is a feature film being released in the country. How many people? 300 million?
317 million?
317 million people.
Like
the country, but also more than that, is the sort of the biggest consumer of films in the world.
Mm.
So the biggest country in the world for films now can watch our film.
Yes. So if you guys are listening from the States, and I happen to know that some of you are,
yeah.
You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on Amazon. So you can find it on iTunes, Amazon Instant Video, Xbox, Vudu, MGO, Google Play, Sony PlayStation. If you're on cable, if you've got cable, you can listen to it on Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, Charter, Suddenlink, Mediacom, Wow. Wow is the name of one of them. And on satellite, you can see it on DirecTV and Dish. So that's I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and this is the film we've been making for 5 years. So please, guys, just take an hour and a half out of your day and just check it out for us.
And obviously a lot of people have iTunes. A lot of people have all of these things, but if you were going to watch it on one, we would recommend iTunes, correct?
Well, yeah. Well, at least you can give it a good, nice rating there, and it might affect it, and, I guess so. I don't know if it really makes any other difference to us. I'm pretty sure iTunes are going to take probably the biggest cut, right?
I'm not sure how it works, to be honest, because we didn't really know anything about the coming out.
Yeah.
We found out that the film was released in America the day after it was released in America.
Yeah,
because someone told us.
Yeah, a guy on Facebook, Jack Steen or Stein, Jack Steen or something like that. He tagged me in a post. He's an American, and he tagged me in a post. He was like, "Hey man, this is your film. Is this? I found it on Comcast. Is this appropriate to play at a family reunion?" Which of course it is, and you should all watch it.
Yeah, with your family.
With your family. But so anyway, and I was like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is a Comcast? And then, and Guy didn't know anything about it either. And then it turns out that the film had just been released the day before in America, and we didn't know.
It's always good to,
no prep.
Keep the director guessing.
Yeah,
keep the director of the film guessing about when the film was going to be released in the biggest country in the world that consumes films.
And we're the ones running the Facebook page as well, and so it just really would have been quite nice to have known that the film was coming out. We could have started hyping it online. We could have started prepping some stuff, releasing some little promo videos or something.
1 week to go.
Yeah,
America.
Yeah, coming your way, guys.
But instead, it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah,
but a pleasant surprise.
Well, yeah. At least it's out, and it is available on a lot of platforms, which is kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, it's very cool, and so
the American distributor has cut their own version of the trailer as well, and it's pretty good actually.
They did a good job.
They did a good job. So it's a whole new trailer out there, which we will be uploading soon to the I Survived a Zombie Holocaust Facebook page, and the Pigville YouTube channel. So you'll be able to check that out in the near future.
So, if you are America, I mean, all our sort of people that are probably listening on YouTube, for example, are American. So check it out, man. Check out the film. Download it legally, please, if you could.
Yep.
And, help us keep making stuff.
And please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or wherever you happen to watch it. Just give it a good review. Please, please do.
It's all about the ratings and reviews. You give it a good rating, then it becomes more visible. You give it a good review, people go, maybe I'll check that out. And for a film like ours, it's all we're relying on word of mouth. It's all word of mouth. It's all people talking to people about it.
We don't have a marketing budget.
We don't have good penetration. We cannot penetrate.
Yeah.
So it's up to good word of mouth to sort of to get the word out there, get people interested, and also
we can't penetrate, so it's all about the mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're saying.
And also, if you have, for our New Zealand Australian listeners, if you have American friends who might be interested in a kick-ass, amazing zombie comedy. Highly original, rated one of the top 10 genre films of 2014 by Nerdly in the UK. If you think that might be someone's cup of tea over there, hit up a friend, say, I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. It's available. You can get it on iTunes or Amazon or wherever that you have it. I'm sure they have access to those things. And, get people involved, get people digging it, get people feeling it. Because that's what we need.
We do. So, this is a filmmaking podcast. This is a podcast about our lives.
Yep.
And so I thought we'd talk about our lives.
Okay.
We're currently looking for a flatmate.
Yep.
That's our current flatmate, Rick, has gone away after 2 interesting
illustrious years
of living here. He's gone away, so we're currently looking for a flatmate. So hit us up online if you're in Auckland. And there's been a few.
Basically, what's happened is he's taken off to Thailand because the amount of girls that he's murdered is getting so great that the police are probably onto him now. So he's got to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, and it's much easier to murder people in Thailand too.
Yeah, no one asks any questions, especially if you're a white guy.
Yeah.
So he's out, and we are looking for new flatmates.
Yeah, and so I've noticed something, which is that when. Here's some advice, guys. If you're going to approach someone to live in their flat, give us a little bit of information, because a lot of the time I always get these messages and it just goes, "Hey, flat available?" And it's like, yeah, you just read the fucking ad. It's obviously available, and you stop wasting my time. Now I've got to reply to you. Yes, it is available. What's your name? What do you do?
Who are you?
When would you like to see it? When that time doesn't work for me. Give me some goddamn information. And I tell you what, it's always men. It's never women. The women, they always go like, "Hi, I'm Cindy. I'm a 23-year-old beauty therapist, but studying law, and I'm looking. I'm social, and I don't mind cooking every now and then. Tidy, pay the bills on time. I was hoping to come and see it on Saturday if it's available."
But these rude dudes, guys, have a bit more class.
Well, just
use your brain.
Because there's a few people that I just stopped replying to, a few of them, because it was like we've had a lot of interest, and there's a few people who's like, man, like I can't be fucked like chasing you down, they want me to call them and shit. Like, come on, man, this is a flat and grey Lynn. Good luck, sucker.
There's nothing worse than someone like getting in touch and asking you to call them.
Yeah,
like that is a real pet peeve of mine. And in fact, it's funny because a producer in America got in contact with me and was like, "Hey, I'd like to know about your sales agent that you're with. Can you please give me a call to talk to me about it?" Mm-hmm. And I was like,
"So you want me to call you in America?
Do you want me to call you collect to America?"
Yeah.
And you're a complete stranger. I don't know anything about you. I just know that you've made this film. That's all I know. and you want me to go to the effort of calling you and costing me money to give you advice on the thing that you want help with.
Yeah, people are stupid.
That's real poor producing right there. That is really poor producing. You know, you could have said, hey, can we have a discussion over chat or Skype? Or can I give you, is there a time I could call you to find out these things? But instead it's like, hey, can you do me a couple of favors on top of the favor? Stupid.
Yeah. Now, this flatmate thing, we've had a few interesting characters come through. We've had a good batch this year. One year we got just all complete disasters. They were just all of them were like terrible. I'm not kidding. Some of them were literally parking wardens.
Yeah.
Like literally parking wardens. And then, but this year it's been pretty good. But there's been a hot Scottish girl, to which Angie said, no. No. Because she was like hot.
No, Miss Harley. No.
She was hot. Scottish with a Scottish accent, but she's deaf.
Right.
So she's got like sort of a cute kind of deaf Scottish accent.
Right.
But it kind of worked. You know. But Angie put her foot down on that one. She was like, no.
And, you know, that's entirely possible because, you know, she is... hates deaf people.
She hates deaf people. That's the problem. Yeah, she was like, no. So that was a big no to the hot Scottish girl.
Yep.
But then on the flip side of that, last night a very handsome French man came over to look at the room, and he seemed like a really nice guy. In all honesty, he seemed like a nice guy. Looked like he'd pay the bills.
Well to do. No chance, mate. Too handsome. I'm not having a handsome fucking French man hanging around my flat. Walking around in his towel.
Here. Walking around in his towel. He looked like he's in good shape too.
Yeah.
Like walking around in his towel, and while my girlfriend's here. It's just not. Well, just not on.
Yeah. It's the laws of the jungle. You know.
You don't invite disaster into your home.
Exactly.
You know, you gotta be the most handsome person in your flat, which luckily I've got that covered. Luckily I've got, so that's how I like to keep it. You know, I'm the king around here, and I want to keep it that way.
It was a funny. Yeah, so he had to go. He couldn't be part of it.
Yeah.
He couldn't be involved. And then we had a Asian. Now, look, we're not racist, okay? But this is exactly the type of thing that'll make you racist.
Yeah, well, so we open the door, and there's this Asian guy there, like a little skinny Asian guy with glasses, and he did a no-show the day before, and today I opened the door, and he just walked straight in. Like, straight past me, straight past Guy, just walks in and starts just looking around the house like it's like an open home. He didn't even ask which the room was. He didn't even know which room it was. And you know, I had to literally follow him through my own house to be like, hey, where are you going?
Hold on a second there, mate.
And even worse, he brought his mum with him. And she just walked straight in.
So his mum and this Asian guy were just walking around like they fucking own, like literally.
They wandered into the kitchen and started like looking at the roof and shit.
It was like, all right, just make yourself at home. And then also, and they made no effort to make conversation with us. Zero effort to kind of be like, okay, well, who are the people I'm living with as well? Like, you know, that's quite important. You might say the most important thing.
I'd say it is.
But he had zero interest in that. Zero interest in politeness or formalities. And he just strolled right in, looked around, and then
he looked at the room. He said, does the room come with the bed? And I was like, no, but you can probably negotiate to buy that bed if you want. And he was like, no.
He's like, no. And then he just turned around. They all just walked out.
They walked out, and they didn't even close the door behind them. They
Rude.
just walked out.
And this is how we get racism going on over here. These rude Asians coming to look at people's flats.
Yeah, well, it was rude. And look, what's more is if he wasn't some skinny little dweeb, you know, I might have, like, if he was some big, scary, like, tattooed guy looking, you know, just looking, you know, if he had come, just forced his way into the house like that, I might have been like, shit, are we getting robbed?
Yeah,
like,
Harley might have called the cops.
What's going on here? You know, but because it was a scrawny Asian guy with his mum, I wasn't too worried.
Yeah. But it was just weird. But it was also like, what I really didn't like forget about the sort of, you know, completely disregarding all sort of conventional wisdom. But just the audacity of it, that it was almost like we were negotiating with him.
Yeah, and then he was like, "No," as if we would have taken them. What the hell? Anyway, we have a flatmate outside the door, literally right now, an Argentinian man. He's almost certainly not going to get it. I've never met him, but can't have.
He can probably hear you.
Can't have those Argentinians around.
But we will take a pause.
All right. Yeah, so he's probably not going to get it. He was a bit quiet, and I don't know. He just wasn't the best applicant.
Okay. So, who is the best applicant so far? Are you going to divulge that?
Yeah, there's this English guy who's probably going to get it, I'd say.
So, English guy, if you listen to this podcast,
you're probably the lucky one.
Yeah.
For me, it's down to the English guy or the Scottish girl. But the Scottish girl could cause some politics, so...
The gender politics of you perving at her in the shower.
Yeah, well, her panties would not be safe on the line. So it's probably for the best. I hope this is one of the episodes that Angie doesn't listen to.
Yeah. Well, we were looking to debut a new segment.
Yes.
Because, there's been some criticism of the podcast.
Yeah.
That it's just two guys
talking shit.
And being very, it's a male point of view. As we're men, we're talking about stuff from a guy's perspective.
From an ignorant man's perspective.
Yep. And so we are thinking about debuting, depending on what our listeners think, of a new segment.
Yep.
With some girls in it.
And what's it called?
Well, we haven't really figured that out.
Right.
But probably maybe the Guy and Harley podcast's girlfriends.
we're probably, it's a little wordy. But so the concept is...
So the concept is basically, I have a girlfriend now.
Yeah.
That's official.
Oh, good for you!
Oh, good for you. And how was it? I hope it was fucking good because it's useless now, isn't it? Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur.
Humble brag that in there.
Yeah, so you have a girlfriend.
I do.
We both have girlfriends.
Yep.
And they have to deal with us on a consistent basis. And so, we thought that perhaps, we asked for listener questions for us to cover. And, we obviously say some very smart things and very insightful and kind of solve people's lives. Mm-hmm. And they walk away feeling better about themselves and, having a lot more tools to kind of tackle, day to day. And, are very grateful to us. But what if there was some questions for some girls? Because we're not girls, so we can't answer from a girl's perspective.
Exactly. So here's the challenge for the listeners, which is give us any questions for our girlfriends. Comment them below.
Yep.
Below this podcast, wherever you listen to it, comment below and give us the questions for our girlfriends. So do you have any questions that can only be answered by a woman? Yep. Now, it doesn't have to be about Guy or myself. It can just be a general question for a woman. Is there something that you've always wanted to ask a woman, but you've always been too scared to?
Like, when are you going to shut up?
Or... Or, I don't know.
When are you going to stop nagging me about taking out the rubbish?
Yeah. Or, I guess I was, the first things that popped to my mind, there must be a million questions out there about periods, right?
Yep.
That'd be one of the first things I'd ask.
How long are they? How much,
how many milliliters are we talking?
The flow, does it make you more horny? Does it make you less horny?
Yes.
Can you get a girl pregnant on their period? Is this everyone says you can't, but is that true?
Well, I feel like you should know that. You're 32 years old, for crying out loud.
I'm posing hypotheticals, okay?
Right, yeah. Okay.
Hypotheticals.
These are hypotheticals. So if you've got any questions out there for our panel of ladies who happen to be our girlfriends, please let us know in the comments below or message the Guy and Harley podcast Facebook page. Just search the Guy and Harley podcast on Facebook and message us there. And if we get some questions, we will create a concise little segment where they answer your questions, and then we can get back to the good stuff. Which is us.
You get back to the A game.
Yeah.
So comment on that. A funny little side note. I was at the supermarket earlier getting some food with my girlfriend. And,
G-bomb again.
And bumped into her ex-fiance.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was standing in line behind him.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. She told me after the fact. And she was just kind of like, hey. And he was like, hey. And I was like, a friend of hers.
Yeah.
It wasn't a friend.
It wasn't a friend.
It was an ex-fiance.
Yeah.
What's worse than an ex-boyfriend? An ex-fiance.
Yeah. So I guess the real question is, has she upgraded to you?
Oh, she's 100% upgraded.
She's upgraded.
Now, this guy...
Tell me about this man.
So this is a little goofy looking.
Goofy. I hate those.
A little
goofy
skinny,
looking
too
guys.
skinny.
Ugh.
Yeah, wiry.
Waiter shoes.
Yeah, like sort of, feel like a strong breeze would blow him over.
Right.
Taller than me.
Right.
He's got that one on me.
He's too tall. Fuck it. Too tall.
He's way too tall
No,
because I'm the perfect height.
Yeah, exactly.
And he is, fucking Andre the Giant-esque.
Right.
Is inappropriately tall.
Yeah.
He was inappropriately tall. I don't know. I didn't really get a good look at his face, but it seemed gawkish.
Right. Yeah.
Gawkish. If I had to describe his face, that's what it would be. So, on your bike, son.
On your bike.
Get out of here. Get out of my Greyland supermarket.
Yeah.
And stop harassing my beautiful girlfriend.
Good riddance to bad rubbish. So there's a reason you're the ex, bro.
Yeah, that's right. So, from a rich, successful man, up and coming in, marketing or something like that, to a poor, struggling filmmaker with no good financial prospects or equity.
No, you're framing this all wrong. He's a pleb.
Boring
pleb from some boring marketing
Boring
job.
old knob.
What's going to happen to him? Well, his life's already written. It's already written for him.
Yeah.
It's all there. He'll have the house and he'll have the kids and he'll have the mortgage.
Yeah.
Whereas you, you're this creative genius, the
Exactly.
writer. I read an article recently that referred to you as the brains behind "I Survived a Zombie Holocaust."
That's true. My brain did conceive of it.
Yeah.
That my brain created that.
So I feel like it's
I'm a
obvious upgrade.
Yeah, I'm a creator of worlds. Is he?
Well, not just that. Like, so this bum helps. Some corporate brand
Consumerism.
get a few more likes on Facebook. That's what he does.
Yeah.
What do, man? You have already, with the release of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, you have affected human history.
That's true.
Like in
Well,
1,000
explain
years,
that.
in 1,000 years, people will be able to look back and find your work. It is immortalized now.
Yep.
And they will be able to look at that work. They will.
If they have iTunes.
Well, no. Look, here's the thing. In the future, right? Let's assume that we don't all destroy the world for a second. Now, there is going to be such a thing as an internet anthropologist in the future, which is a person that, or an internet archaeologist, a person that goes through, all of the shit that we're constantly uploading to Facebook.
Internet archaeologist.
Yeah.
That's going to be a real thing.
That's going to be a thing.
Instead of digging for fossils, he's going to be digging for, kind of hidden gems on the interwebs.
Random status updates that people have forgotten about,
A classic status update from Harley Neville that we all forgot about.
or never noticed in the first place. And not just that, people are going to start looking back through this and go, okay, I'm going to take this random person, say Harley Neville, and I'm going to find out about his life and find out what he was doing and who was he associated with and, who was his friends and what did he do in his life. And, you'll be able to, there will be people, hobbyists and so on, that will actually do this for fun. And now, anyway, your film is immortalized. It's always going to be there, and it is going to affect, to a degree, in some sense, the people that watch it, and it may affect other creative people that say, oh, I like that idea, or I took this concept, or this inspired me in this way, or even it just motivated me to go and make my own thing.
Maybe a couple of high school kids see
Exactly.
that film, and just like I saw Dawson's Creek, and got inspired. They get inspired to make their own zombie film, which might be the greatest zombie film in history.
Exactly.
Next to mine.
Second greatest. Yeah. So yeah, basically, fuck that guy.
Fucking loser.
The big question is, how was his dick game?
Well, that's
the fear, isn't it?
Yeah,
every time you see him, every time you see an ex, you're always like, yeah, you don't look like much, but were you doing things that I don't?
Yeah.
You doing things that I can't?
Did you have the tricks?
Did you have
the tricks of the trade?
Yeah.
Did you have the trade secrets?
Yeah. Please. Can you just give me some tips, dude? Just tell me what, you were the fiance. Just tell me what she likes.
Yeah, so that is certainly a concern. And that's also sometimes you don't want to know these answers because you don't want to it's fine if the answer is
you want to know if you're better.
If your answer is don't worry about him, he was shit, then that's great. You wanted to know the answer. If the answer was well, honey, the thing is I knew him for a lot longer than I knew you.
And he wasn't better. He was just different.
He was just different. That old chestnut. Everyone's just different, babe. Everyone's just different. We're all different. It's not better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. So don't delve too deep into that one.
Yes, it pays not to ask too many questions, probably. So
I read something concerning on the internet recently about penis size the world over.
Right.
Now, New Zealand, so we were sort of I think we were like slightly above average, right? Was the average penis size in New Zealand was slightly above average.
Right.
So, this is the world over. So I guess you've got certain countries where the men have smaller penises, which is good for us here in New Zealand. However, I was very disconcerted to see that the big boys on the scene, on the worldwide dick scene, the big boys, Colombia, which is where my girlfriend is from.
Yeah.
Which explains a lot.
I'm not sure what that explains. I'm really not sure what that explains.
Well, it just explains that mine's not big enough. Mine's just not big enough.
Does it explain a certain sense of dissatisfaction that you leave her with after each encounter?
Yeah, so it's very disconcerting to find that your girlfriend comes from a country with the biggest average penis size. It wasn't Colombia specifically, it was Colombia amongst other countries, but that was one of the ones with the biggest penis size.
Well, on the upshot, my girlfriend's half Japanese, so...
So you're saying... Ew! So if the racist generalizations are to be believed, you are...
I'm sitting pretty!
You're sitting pretty! Oh, big man on campus.
Although, to be fair, she's actually never been with an Asian guy, I don't think.
I'm sure she's very happy to have us talking about this publicly. I'm sure that this is exactly what she wants people to know.
Well, what's that? That's not incriminating.
Well, no, it's not, but it's just revealing, I guess. A little revealing.
So, so there is that. But also, Harley, look, it's not necessarily the size of the wand. It's the wizard who wields it.
That's what
as Dumbledore once said to Harry Potter.
Did he actually say that?
He never said that.
Well, that would have been funny if he had.
So one thing I did want to talk about as well, very sad, was my main topic for the podcast actually.
Yeah, I was actually going to say something about this too.
The death of the hot rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Professional wrestler, very famous in the 80s, but was sort of around, in and around the scene all the way up until his death. Actually had a podcast, which was quite good. And, was like being in movies and doing stuff, and was on a WWE Legends contract, for the past sort of few years. 61 years old, died apparently of a heart attack in his sleep. And
could be worse, I guess.
It could be worse, certainly, but it was really devastating news. for me, because Roddy Piper, I mean, we talked about Dusty Rhodes a couple of weeks back, but Dusty Rhodes, people don't know Dusty Rhodes.
Don't they?
Not on the same degree. You know, Rowdy Roddy Piper headlined WrestleMania, and then he headlined WrestleMania 2 in a boxing match with Mr. T. You know, he has been in a lot of films, and you know, he was also, you know, just well known as like kind of an amazing talker on Piper's Pit. He had this segment, Piper's Pit, where he'd just take the piss out of whoever came on and kind of run down the good guys, the baby faces, and we'll play some clips of Rowdy and some of his interviews throughout this, because I think it's interesting to hear that stuff. And you know, he was just an exceptional talker.
I do exactly what I want to do. You say I'm insane. I say, thank you very much. Adrian Adonis, do you think I'm insane? Do you think for 1 second now you running around with your dress on and your beautiful pectorals that look like you had 6 litters of puppies, you're going to come run in a ring and you're going to come run around and mess me up and think for 1 second that I'm just going to sit there and take him and knock him out there and beat you to a pulp?
Our congratulations.
That's why I'm Roddy Piper and you're not.
All right, back to you, Vince.
And he had a very, very hard life as well. So before he, you know, one sort of just story that I remember is basically he was kicked out of his house at a very young age. I think his mother passed away very young. So he was being taken care of by his father. He was kicked out of house. He was expelled from school. And he was telling the story on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. But basically, I think he was 13 years old or 14 years old. And it was freezing cold. This is in Canada. He was freezing cold. He was freezing his nuts off. And he was just homeless. He had nowhere to go. He's fucking, you know, he was fucked basically. And he just sat down on the road and started crying. And he cried and he cried and he cried. And he cried for about an hour and a half. And then he said he just stopped crying because he realized that he did not know anyone. He had nobody to come and tell him that it was going to be better, it was going to be okay. He had nobody in his life that was going to do that for him. And there was, you know, the only person that was going to, you know, make him feel better was himself. You know, no matter what he did from that point, it was all on his shoulders. And his responsibility. And I thought that's very profound because, you know, when we are children, you know, you are waiting for someone to come and say, your dad or your mum or whoever or a friend to come and say, hey, look, it's okay, everything's going to get better. You know, everything's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. You know, you'll get through this. And he did not have that person in his life. And he was, you know, out there in the sort of homeless and the freezing cold. And then he went on to started off in amateur boxing, progressed to professional wrestling, where, you know, the older guys, because he started very young, he started professional wrestling at like 15, 16. And basically the professional wrestlers, because it was all what they call kayfabe back then, which was meant that people coming in, they didn't tell people coming in that it was fake. So they basically beat the shit out of these people to the point where then they pin them, basically. And so that the first few matches, they just beat the shit out of him. Well, I think one of the first or second match, one of them broke his arm, and that was the initiation into pro wrestling. And then he would sort of go on to become, you know, Rowdy Roddy Piper, this huge sort of superstar. But what are your memories of the Hot Rod?
I don't remember much about him, to be honest. I remember Dusty Rhodes much better.
Really?
Yeah.
The kilt? Coming out in the kilt?
Yeah. I mean,
the bagpipes?
Got some recollections. Oh, there goes another flatmate.
Okay.
Flatmate here for us. Hold that thought.
See me, I'm real plain and simple and direct. They call me Hot Rod. Everybody knows it. I don't have to say what I am, because I've done it. That's the difference between you and me. You talk about it, I do it. Oh, you want to come out in the frilly robes? You're so cute. Of course, I come out in a kilt. Someone says I'm cute, and I bury my fist down their throat. You want to have a party? You want to see how tough you are? Come on down. The water's fine, but it's up to here.
Pretty sure that flatmate's not going to get it, actually.
Not getting it either.
I don't think so. English guy is probably the winner.
Now, we were just talking about Rowdy Roddy Piper. Now, the other big thing about Rowdy Roddy Piper was that he was the first crossover movie star first professional wrestling crossover movie star. So, this was back in the sort of late 80s. The only other person that had been in a film was Hulk Hogan.
Santa with muscles.
Played Thunderlips in Rocky 3. But he was just playing a professional wrestler. He was just playing a big professional wrestler, and Hulk Hogan was never really gonna, the way that Hulk Hogan looks, he was never really gonna just play an average Joe, was he? Like, that was never really gonna happen. And, it's interesting because, who do you think of one of the biggest stars of now?
The Rock.
The Rock, exactly, right? Now,
John Cena.
Now, Rowdy Roddy Piper, at one point, at the height of his popularity, when he made this film, had the potential to be The Rock. And in fact, there's a whole alternate sort of universe and reality where his big film that he did, which is called They Live by John Carpenter, was a success, and he became that breakout star that The Rock is now. But basically what happened is he made this film, They Live, which is a very good film. It's by John Carpenter, who's one of my favorite directors, and it's basically about a guy who gets these glasses, and the glasses, these sunglasses, allow him to see the world as it really is. And what happens when he puts on the glasses is he finds that the whole world is
full of aliens.
It's been infiltrated by aliens, and not only that, they're running the world, and they're sort of they're sort of rats, and so they have all these signs up. It's all subliminal messages. Consume, obey, marry, procreate. There's all these signs up, watch TV, and all this stuff, which he realizes when he puts on these glasses and, tries to stop. And it's a great idea, and it basically came about because John Carpenter, this was in the time when Ronald Reagan was president, and it was that whole, he was sort of striking back against Reaganism, against consumerism, and how he'd been fed up with this sort of greed of corporate entities and stuff like that. And, this was his sort of stab back at it, and it cost about $3 million, which at the time was probably about, $10 to $15 million. It made $13 million, which was considered back then financially a flop. Right. Even though nowadays you might actually consider that as a not bad return on $3 million.
Yeah.
But at that time it was considered a box office failure. And Rowdy Roddy Piper never really, he didn't get to make any more high profile films like that. I guess people lost interest in the idea of professional wrestlers at that time also being able to cross over. But what has happened since then is that this film has taken on a life of its own, and it has become a cult classic. And of course, like all good films, it has become more relevant as time has passed, and is now incredibly relevant to the world we live in, if not more so than it was back then. And so it's interesting that although it wasn't successful at the time, it did become a cult classic. It does also have the line, I came to kick ass and chew bubblegum and I'm all out of bubblegum, which I tried to paraphrase in a joke of the other podcast. And failed miserably. But, basically it's become, the go-to, I do it, we all do it, where we sort of put one thing first and say we're all out of that thing, and kick ass is the second thing. So, he did some really interesting stuff in his life, and I encourage everyone to watch They Live if you haven't seen it. It is very good, and it is, like I said, very relevant to today.
You're talking about a man that is so proud from being Iran. I saw him walking down the beach with his girlfriend. The only difference between him and his girlfriend was 10 pounds and a bikini, and the sheik had the bikini on and she had the 10 pounds. This is a matter of who's the best. Obviously, the sheik and I have beat everybody. The first time we have come together. The only difference between us is ugly. That's the only difference. You know what you're talking about. You see what you're talking about here? Someone's going to get hurt because I ain't just going to use my fist. I'm going to use chairs. I'm going to use buffaloes. I might grab the kid. I might beat him to death with my canary. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know one thing for sure. I ain't dating none of his broads.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that with the passing of Rowdy,
yep,
all of your heroes are dying. So, Rowdy Roddy Piper, he's gone. Dusty
Yes.
Rhodes, dropped off.
Yep. Ultimate Warrior.
Miss Elizabeth.
Macho Man, one of my biggies.
Yep.
Dead.
All gone. Now, the Hulk has been laid low.
The Hulk, yes.
With this new scandal.
This racist scandal.
The racist scandal. I guess we're reaching an age where our heroes are starting to die. I'm lucky because I don't have any heroes.
You're lucky because you don't look up to anyone.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm watching you go through all this, Terry Pratchett, he's gone, I'm watching watch your heroes die.
You're like Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Your hero was you in 10 years.
Yeah.
That's who you're looking to be.
Yeah. So that's good.
That's going to be your Oscar speech.
Yeah, maybe that's a more healthy outlook on life. Maybe we don't need heroes. Maybe we need to be our own heroes.
That's all very profound, Harley. Or it makes you an arrogant asshole that thinks you're better than everyone. One or the other.
No. It's definitely the other.
But yeah, so we'll play a couple of clips of Rowdy, and I think it's really sad that he's gone, and he was a great man. So rest in peace, Hot Rod.
And most of all, most important, why we do what we do? For the thrill of performing. Ric Flair was right. We live for this. I have people that come up to me and they say to me, "Hey, Roddy, we remember when you slapped Mr. T." And I have people come up to me and say, "When my granddad was alive, we watched you shave Adrian Adonis's head. And Chris, you want to bury these moments. No, these moments are to be celebrated. I was in the Royal Rumble, and when I came out in Madison Square Garden, 24,000 people jumped to their feet, and just for 1 second, Chris, I felt like I was back in the first WrestleMania. That was the thrill of a lifetime for me. I have one hip, and I hurt all the time. But as long as these folks here say so, I will crawl down here on my hands and knees to give them one more memorable moment, because old school's cool.
Well, so today is a unique episode of the podcast because it's actually been recorded over 3 days.
Yeah.
And normally when we do the podcast, we record it, during the week sometime and we release it on the Sunday. Right now it is Sunday. It's like 3:20 and we're drinking beer in our dressing gowns.
Yep.
And it's not very often that the podcast is recorded on the same day that it's released. So if you're listening to this tonight on Sunday, this is hot off the press.
This is current.
Yep.
I literally just exported this off my computer and uploaded it like straight away.
Yes.
But yeah, so I did have another couple of interesting topics.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say that we have applied for $100,000.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
To shoot our web series, the Guy and Harley Show, which you can actually see the pilot episodes on YouTube. So either search Pigville on Facebook, and they're uploaded as videos on the Facebook page, or better yet, go to YouTube, search Pigville, and you'll find the Guy and Harley Show, it's called. The Guy and Harley Show, episode 1 and episode 2. So that's on our channel, so go check it out. And we have applied for this 100 grand from NZ On Air to create the full season, and we will find out in October. But I think we've got a very strong application. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic.
We really took our time with this proposal. I really took my time with this proposal.
Hey, I took my time.
You took your time reading it.
I took my time. I took my time doing the stuff I was responsible for. Slowed down the whole process.
And yeah, it is quite strong, but it's so. I think that's the thing is like, you know, you make these proposals, and you know this proposal took a good month to sort of do all the bits and pieces of it,
because they want like a full budget and a pilot show and
you know,
episode outlines.
Like next to shooting the actual pilot episode, which thankfully we'd already done, there was this incredibly involved process where we talk about our audience. You know, who are our audience? We talk about basically why
we're going to market it.
All our marketing techniques. Where is it going to be screened? We have to talk about its visual identity. You know, how is this film and why is this film or series going to look the way it does? You know, then we've got to talk about the people involved, the key crew and cast, and you know how, you know, what is their relation to the project, and you know how they're great,
bios about them and that stuff.
And then we've also got to break down all the future episodes. So what is going to happen in the season, and also what is the basic premise and concept of the show, in sort of several various you know, lengths. And you know, this takes some fucking writing, man. And I think that's the thing is like, you know, this is not the first proposal we've applied for. We've applied for many. And
we've only ever got one.
And we've only ever got one.
The funding for I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. And available now on DVD.
And iTunes. In America as
USA.
Well.
Are we allowed to announce the
we can say that it's going to be also available in Germany.
Yep. You heard it here first, people.
That's right.
We haven't announced this yet.
On the 28th of August.
28th of August. It's going to be available in Germany.
Yeah.
For all our German listeners.
For all our German peeps.
I do have a few German people that have actually messaged asking about it though, so that's kind of good. There is already some interest there.
And you know, it was basically took about a good solid month of writing. And, you know, we, you know, cut it right down to the wire. And in fact, I'm a little bit paranoid because I didn't get a confirmation, you know, of like, say, thanks for the proposal.
I'll ask, I have another friend, Tom, whose last name starts with G, but it's basically completely unpronounceable.
Yeah.
Gronenwagen or something.
Yeah.
And he has also applied, so I'll ask him if he got a confirmation or not.
Yeah. And that's the thing is when you spend a month doing this thing and you know put your heart and soul into it, and you pour everything into it, everything, and you're like, this is, you know, like this is the very best of us. This represents us, you know. This is what we're all about, and you know, please, you know, give us some money, and then you don't get it.
Yeah.
That is how your sort of ego and self-esteem are eaten away at and chipped away at over the years. Until you become a bitter husk, you know, but it's that slow erosion because, you know, at first when you start making these, you're like, I'm going to get it. That's it. I'm getting it. That's it. And then after a while, you're like, oh, well, I guess history has led me to believe that I might not get it, but I'm going to get it. And then after a while, you're like, well,
I'm not getting this.
I'm probably not getting this.
My fucking time.
Why the fuck am I doing this? I just spent a month on this thing and I could have been editing my feature film for a month. And so, you know,
or jerking off.
I could have been jerking off for a month straight.
Anything would be better than doing all this work to get nothing.
Well, exactly,
out of it.
because it's one thing to do all the work and get something. It's another thing to do all the work and get nothing, and then to repeat that times 100.
Yeah.
So do all this work to get nothing 100 times. That is very soul-destroying and depressing. And you could see how people slowly turn from these optimistic youths, like, you know, young go-getters. I'm going to grab the world, you know, in the palm of my hands. I'm going to, you know, show everyone. And then at some point you're like, well, I just can't get my hopes up, because if I get my hopes up, I'm going to just start, I'm literally just going to break it. I'm going to be walking around breaking into tears. I'm going to just I'll be randomly, you know, talking to people, and I'll just break into tears of the heartbreak of my career.
So the becoming a bitter old husk is actually a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
To stop you, you know, it's either be a bitter old husk or be a lunatic that bursts into tears at any at any moment.
Yeah, you'd be like Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love. Have you seen that?
I can't say I have.
Oh, right. Yeah, he basically he has these extreme moments of rage, but then also these extreme moments of like emotional vulnerability where he just breaks down because his life is so shit.
Right.
And he can't control himself. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I have seen.
Yeah.
Is Housebound.
Yes.
And The Deadlands. I got all caught up. I did a New Zealand film marathon.
Film reviews. You've got 2. I've got 1. Let's go.
Okay. Housebound.
Yes.
Now, Housebound was kind of not really competition to I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, but kind of sort of aiming for the same audience. You know, like they were they got funded the same year as us through the same initiative as I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. So their budget was theoretically $250,000, but I think it might have ended up being a bit more.
Yep.
And then they made their film. First time receiving film commission funding. That was one of the prerequisites for the team. So they were really in much the same boat as us, and they did very, very well. And they got into all the same festivals as us, but usually did better.
Yep.
They got into some festivals we didn't get into,
and possibly we didn't get into them because they got into them.
Well, there is, I guess, a certain a possibility that they only want one horror comedy from New Zealand.
New Zealand horror comedy is enough for any festival.
And so for a good solid year, I put off watching it. Not because I thought it was going to be shit, but I think just because my heart couldn't handle it. You know, my heart couldn't, because I was like, well, what if it is just way better? They had the same resources and they just did better.
Yeah,
and
to be fair, like when you say the same resources, they actually had twice as many resources ultimately.
They got a bunch of post-production funding that we didn't get, and our big delays were in post-production. But no excuses. I was a bit concerned about whether or not it would be, just really.
It would
awesome.
just destroy.
The
zombie film,
and it was very good.
Yep.
It was very good. I really liked it. It made me genuinely laugh a few times. Angie watched it with me. She laughed quite a few times.
Were you like, you're laughing too much, bitch?
Yeah.
You better not be laughing more than the zombie film right now.
Yeah, I know. I'd have a chuckle, but every time she had a chuckle, I'd just give her the evils A. So I watched it, and it was good. And even though it was good, and it had very high production values and all that stuff, it didn't really make me feel bad. I feel maybe because it was just such a different story, a different genre, like kind of a sort of lower concept in the sense that it's all set like
in a house,
and it's kind of all
very few characters,
not that many characters and stuff like that. So while it was very good, it was doing a different thing to what we were doing with this zombie film. So I didn't actually feel too bad about it actually. So it was good. I gave it a 5-star rating on iTunes because I figure the better New Zealand films do, the better.
That's right.
We do. So make sure you give us a 5-star rating on iTunes if you watch I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
Or on IMDb, right?
Yeah, IMDb, that's an important one. Here's the thing. If you have a Facebook account, you can go to imdb.com and find I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, click rate, and it will ask you to sign in, and you can just sign in with your Facebook account. It takes about 10 seconds, and then you can give it a 10-star rating, and that would really help us. We would appreciate that. But yeah, so anyway, Housebound, I liked it. It was good, and I recommend that you go and see it if you haven't. And then the other film I watched was The Deadlands, which is a Māori sort of action film, action adventure about a young guy on a quest for vengeance to sort of chase down the people that massacred his village. And that's not giving anything away. That's kind of the setup. And he has to go through the Deadlands, which is this cursed sort of place. And it was good, but I didn't realize before I started watching it that it was all in Māori.
You don't know that?
I didn't know that. I thought it would just be in English or something. I didn't really think about it, But that's right, because I'm fluent in Māori.
Well, that was kind of its big selling gimmicks,
Right.
It was very advantageous for many reasons. Because, again, then it becomes a true foreign film. Now, foreign films are sold in a different way, and presented in a different way. Almost a more credible way. So, if a guy, like an action film, right? That's shit, right? Well, that's taken, right? Whereas an action Māori film, where they all speak, the native tongue, it suddenly makes it far more prestigious. In fact, so prestigious that it was put forward for Oscar nomination.
Right.
It did not receive.
Right.
They were not interested. They
Yeah.
probably saw through that little trick.
Yeah.
But, it was, and, primarily, I'm sure it wouldn't have been had they all been speaking English.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Well, like, I liked it. I thought it was good. And, it was well worth a watch, and it kept me interested all the way through. Angie wasn't loving it.
Right.
Wasn't really feeling
Not
it.
liking all those half-naked dudes?
No, I guess that only sort of ties you over for half the film, but but I thought it was all right. I had a few gripes with like some of the action and not being really as good as I'd hoped, or not as gory as I'd hoped, because it's essentially about these guys beating the crap out of each other and eating each other, with these very primitive, brutal kind of tools, weapons, and I just feel like in that type of fighting, you really need a lot of gore,
right?
Because it was very gory, in real life, And then I also had a bit of an issue with the bad guys kind of seemed a little bit comical bad guy, like they were a little bit too far. They just didn't really have anything to them except for being these kind of comical bad guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, I liked it overall, and which ties in nicely to last night. I had my first hongi.
What, your first hongi?
In 20 years. Like I remember I had a hongi like at school when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've had one since.
Right.
And a hongi, for those listeners not from New Zealand, is a traditional Māori greeting where you press your nose up against the nose of the other person.
Yeah. Almost like you're kissing, but with noses.
Almost like you're kissing, but with noses.
Nose kiss.
It can be a man or a woman.
Yep.
And you both inhale at the same time. You're both sharing a breath, and that's the greeting. It's like a welcome into
very
the
family.
Family. Yeah, it is. And it's kind of like it's kind of like the modern, the old equivalent of like shaking hands, but obviously a lot more intimate. And it was horrible. It was horrible. Like like it was his greasy old nose, rubbing up against my greasy old nose. All the greasy noses all rubbing up against, like slipping around. And I hadn't just jumped out of the shower, and neither had he. We'd been drinking and eating for like 5 hours, and I was leaving, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, sweet man," and like gave me a hongi, and I'm all for that's all fine.
Cultural
sensitivity, but man, I don't want a greasy old nose on my greasy old nose. I don't even like that when it happens with Angie,
if you touch her nose, you have to push her away and say stop.
If she's got if her nose is greasy, or if mine is greasy, if I've got a greasy nose, I don't want to rub it on someone else. And so I've been eating at a barbecue, I'd no doubt I've been touching my face and eating food, the greasy meat and stuff. So it was very unpleasant.
Do you ever think, the Maori elders were kind of like sitting around and they're like, one, it had just taken, so they were sitting around having greeted a bunch of new people, which took 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because it takes so long to do the hongi.
Yeah.
And,
you can get them done reasonably quick.
Yeah, but, you got to go in.
But there's a technique.
There's a hello and hi is very, hey, that's good. We're done. Like a hongi, you lean in for everyone. You can't lean in too quick, or it's a headbutt.
Yeah.
You
got to do the breath together. That's the whole point.
Right. I didn't even really know that.
You didn't know
the breath.
Yeah, sharing a... You ever find yourself... See, that was a good thing. At least I did a good one.
The last hongi I did not share a breath.
You just rubbed your nose up against...
I just gave a little... Yeah, exactly. Like I was rubbing my nose on someone's clit, except it was someone else's nose, and I...
Except for some dude's nose.
Same technique. And then I moved away.
Perfected the nose wiggle clitty rub technique that you perfected through high school. You're good when you can make a girl come with your nose, man. Straight up.
That's the only time I like to inhale.
You're sharing a breath, eh? You and the pussy. So lovely.
But so you think, I kind of feel like at some point they must have been like, you know what? We made a mistake here with this greeting. We maybe should think of a new greeting, because this greeting, and they're kind of like, well, we can't now.
We can't. It's established.
We're set on this greeting.
Being set in tradition, I guess you can't really review it. It's one of those things. Once it's set in tradition, it's a tradition.
I'm sure it was tabled by a Māori elder at some point.
Yeah.
He was like, can we change the hongi? and to something a little more just quick
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
less nosy.
Yeah. It's a little less intimate.
Like I swear, I swear, I just went in a little too quick and I kissed the guy last night. I kissed him.
You could see how that might happen.
Yeah, of course. Your nose
got
kind
the
of
face leaning in.
squishes. Your nose squishes. The both nose squish. And really, you touch lips.
Well, also muscle memory. What other time do you have your face up to someone else's face like that? The only other time is when you're kissing, and most people have kissed a lot more than they've hongied.
Yeah.
So when you're leaning in, you are probably just, you don't know what your body might do.
Yeah, well, that's
you might
also
slip the tongue in.
Exactly. And also, like, that's the thing is, like, maybe also I'm sure, people who don't understand what hongi is, they just kiss the person.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
they're
They
not
don't know
waiting
what
to
to
touch
do.
noses.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so you're bringing me in. Well, we're going to have a kiss.
Yeah.
Have a kiss hello.
Yeah.
Like the French or whatever.
Yeah.
So, why not? But yeah, so that's interesting. So, your review on hongis, not great. Your hongi review?
Well, I do think that everybody should have a hongi at some point.
Sure, you got
it. It's a cultural experience that you should have.
Yeah.
And you now that you've listened to the podcast, you got to inhale at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So now everybody's learnt something here as well. But yeah, it's not something I'd like to do too often, unless it was just with like hot Maori girls. That's all right then,
Then you'd be leading in for a long hongi. Long hongi and inhale. Yeah, you inhale, but it's more like a Hannibal Lecter. And they're like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm inhaling. This is part of the ritual. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
But I would like to eat you with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. I watched a film. I watched a couple of films myself.
Yep.
Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible 5.
I tell you what, it'd
Rogue
be Mission
Nation.
Impossible to get me to watch that film.
You know what? It was probably the best, apart from Mad Max, it was the best blockbuster I've seen today. Mm-hmm. Today? I haven't seen any blockbusters today. No, but I've seen...
That's very prestigious. This is the best blockbuster I've seen today.
All today. No, I mean to this year.
Right. Right.
And I'll tell you why it's good.
Okay.
No CGI-itis.
Good.
No blockbusteritis. Mm-hmm. They didn't feel like they had to top, they had some spectacular things. Obviously, he literally hangs off a plane, which takes off, and he really does it. You have to respect a guy who's, made hundreds of millions of dollars, is in his mid-50s, and is prepared to hang off the side of a plane as a stunt for the audience enjoyment. There's no reason he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah.
There's absolutely zero reason, purely to entertain the people that are going to see it and say, hey, I fucking care about this franchise. I care about you guys. So I'm going to put my life in incredible danger. Like, he wasn't going to be ripped off the plane. They said that basically what would happen if he were to be killed was a bird would hit him.
Right.
If a bird hit him as they were taking off, that would instantly kill him. But obviously a bird didn't hit him, and they did 8 takes of it. Right. But it is insane to see one of the biggest movie stars in the world hanging off the side of a plane as it takes off, and him just hanging on the side of the fucking plane. It's mental. And he does a lot of cool stunts like that. And but there was no big CG stuff. It was all real, it was all in camera, all looked very authentic. They didn't feel like, at the end of the film they had to have like this super escalation. It was all very sort of contained, but interesting because it was contained, and good female character in it. Super sexy. We haven't seen her before. I'm not sure her name, but she was really good in it.
Right.
And a great kind of spy tale of espionage. Very, very cool. Great characters and all this stuff. And I also just think, Tom Cruise is about 55 now, right? He is a few years off my dad.
Right.
He is like 3 years off my dad's age. Now, Tom Cruise looks a lot different to my dad.
Yeah, but Tom Cruise has got the best light, the best makeup artist, and the best diet in the world.
He does, but but I just still think of it like, my dad eats well. He trains hard. He's in good shape, right? For a man of his age. And then there's Tom Cruise, and it's like, what? Like, he must have a painting somewhere that is like this haggard, evil, shrunken thing like Dorian Gray, because like he literally, I was like looking at him and I was like, Well, obviously he's in better shape than me, but I was also looking at him, I was like, he probably looks a couple years older than me. Maybe we're the same age. You know, my grey hair to his non-grey hair. Maybe we're actually the same age.
Yeah, but he'll dye his hair.
Well, yeah, okay, sure, he'll dye his hair, but I mean, I'm just saying that the guy looks the same age as me. He doesn't look like my dad. How are these people doing it? How truly, though? Because it's one thing to say, yeah, diet and exercise and train well, but how? How fucking how?
Nah, come on, man. When you've got nothing else to do but look after yourself, you know, in between your blockbuster film that you decide to do once a year, you know, like, you've got just all year just to eat well, work out, you know, get the best little surgeries, little inobtrusive surgeries that you can get. That money can buy. There is our next flatmate.
Got to pause for the cause.
Got to pause for the cause. We'll let you know how this guy goes. I don't like him.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, he was all right.
It was okay?
He was all right. He's an electrician. And I don't know. He was all right, but he just wasn't the best.
Can he fix a washing machine?
Well, I joked about that. Our washing machine's broken at the moment, and he's actually the second Sparky to look at the room. And with both of them, I said, "Oh, sweet, you can fix the washing machine while you're here." And both of them were like, huh.
Yeah, that washing machine is a bit of a pain in the ass. You know, I bet it's the same problem because this is the second time we've had to fix the washing machine. I think it cost about $250 last time.
Did it?
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
I can't remember it costing that much.
Oh no! Basically what it was like some little filter that he took out and he put in the new filter. Took him about 20 minutes. The filter probably cost him about $10. $250 later. So you know you want to make money, become a washing machine technician.
Yeah, well,
disgusting.
I think they're electricians, right? That's what they are.
Yeah, I don't know.
And to become an electrician, you do have to go through several years of an apprenticeship where they pay you under minimum wage.
And they light your, like, a pubic hair on fire and, like, throw you out windows and moving cars and, like, basically treat you terribly. There's a weird culture of apprenticeships.
Apprenticeship abuse?
Like, it's hazing.
They just sodomize you whenever they want.
Yeah, exactly. They basically butt rape you and they're like, haha, this is what you get in an apprenticeship and you just take it. You like it. Tell me how much you like it.
It's the same with chefing. Same with chefing. They treat the new guys in the kitchen, you know, the guys that are learning, they treat them like shit and make them do all the shit jobs. And
just like kneel down, piss all over them. They go, now you lap up that piss because this is your apprenticeship and this is you appreciate it.
And to be honest, I think
it's weird.
There's a something completely just wrong right at the core of that, because obviously that's why chefs are such assholes, because you know they got treated like shit when they were learning.
Look,
so now they treat everybody like shit.
It's the cycle of bullying.
It is, and they think it's okay to be a you know loud, noisy jerk off like what's his name? What's that fucking chef?
Gordon Ramsay.
Like this guy is an icon for chefs. He's an asshole.
And that's the thing is like if you've had someone piss in your face in your apprenticeship, there is no way that you're going to go the next guy that comes in. You know, you've suffered this abject humiliation that you'll remember for the rest of your life, right? And that will sometimes haunt you. You'll wake up going and like trying to wipe the piss off your face. No, I don't. And so basically, you there's no way that then the next guy you're going to go. You know what? I've had traumatic experience. Like, I feel horrible. This has scarred me for life. I'm not going to scar him for life. You're going to go, that motherfucker has to get exactly what I got, but worse. So he understands what it means to be an apprentice. But it's kind of crazy, and I'm glad that I'm not in any of those kind of trades people or chefing environments where that happens. You know, the only time my face is pissed on is when I ask my girlfriend to do it in a loving environment.
Caring, loving environment. Safe. A safe environment. It's
a safe environment where we've already laid out a plastic sheet.
And a safety word.
And she's drunk lots of water.
And not too much asparagus.
No, But I did also want to talk about, now, there's been a couple of scandals in the film world.
Right.
Now, Josh Trank is a director. Now, he directed Chronicle. Did you see Chronicle?
I saw the Chronicles of Riddick.
Not the same.
Right.
It's basically about it's about these kids discovering that they have superpowers, and then one of them turns into a bit of a psychopath.
Actually, I think I have seen that. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like found footage.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
I actually haven't seen it.
Oh, right. I've seen it.
Yeah, so
wasn't bad.
Yeah. Now, basically, he got a lot of buzz and a lot of hype based off that film, and was attached to direct the Fantastic Four movie, which is coming out this weekend. Now, the Fantastic Four movie has been widely panned as the worst superhero movie in a very long time.
And that's saying something, because they're all shit.
And so, like, very mediocre reviews. People sort of...
I've heard that. Even I've heard that.
Right, you've heard that too?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, like, people very underwhelmed by it, very, like... and apparently the production was beset by problems. So, apparently the director became very, very reclusive and isolated, and he kind of stopped, he kind of was holding himself up, and, like, people were like, we need to know about this, we need to know about that, what do we want to do, and they couldn't get any answers.
So he was like the captain on the Titanic in the movie Titanic, when it starts going down,
Exactly.
and he kind of just walks around, not really doing anything. People are asking him questions, and he doesn't really know what to do, and he's obviously in shock and not handling it.
And that's exactly what happened to this Josh Trank, basically, on the film. And what had to happen, apparently, is that the producers had to come in and do, like, extensive reshoots for the last act of the film, and they reshot it, so they just weren't very happy with the overall thing. They weren't very happy. But
it wasn't this guy.
Well, ironically, they said that, like, the stuff that the director has most to do with, which would be the start of the film, the first act, into the sort of halfway mark, is the better stuff. And then it all goes off the rails further on, which is the stuff that he was less involved with.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was getting all this negative feedback, and this is the Twitter problems. And I could see this becoming a problem for us, to be quite frank. Lashing out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And basically, he tweeted... in a response, all these people saying your film sucks, Fantastic Four is a dog, like, what were you doing? And he tweeted this: a year ago, I had a fantastic version of this, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though. And that was his tweet, which caused a huge internet storm because everyone was like, holy shit, basically he's dogging his film. He's kind of distancing himself from the version of the film that is currently, literally, it had not been released at that point. And he is, kind of assigning blame to the powers that be, the studio, which is very rare.
Yeah.
Filmmakers, even if they're treated like shit on films, which, it happens all the time in the studio system, where kind of the power is taken away from them, they just never really say anything about it, because if you say anything about it...
they want to work again.
Exactly. And he sort of did that. He has subsequently deleted that tweet and now kind of retweets lots of positive things about Fantastic Four. Yeah. He hasn't obviously made mention of that, but everyone is like, oh, it was career suicide, And what's interesting as well is that he was originally attached to direct one of the standalone Star Wars spin-offs.
Right.
There's this X-Wing rogue rogue leader that's going to be coming out. Yeah. But there's also this other film, and he was going to be doing the other film. He was attached to do it. Now, apparently, because of his problems on Fantastic Four, as it's the same producers on both films, he was basically dropped from the Star Wars movie because, he kind of lost the plot, or hypothetically. And now it becomes this blame game. It's like, well, whose fault is it? Is it the studio's fault for meddling with him? Is it his fault? Did he go a little bit crazy on set? Is it a combination of the two?
It's almost certainly a combination of the two, right?
Well, I guess I think so. I mean, obviously, you always want to assign blame to other people when, people talking shit about your stuff. And also you want to find reasons why, things aren't working that aren't you. On the same token, studios are notorious for fucking directors. It happens all the time. They're just like, you know what, this vision isn't commercial enough. You're taking too many risks. And, and there is this thought that he is quite a bold voice, and that this bold voice was not, they were like, look, we've got to make it more
Look, we're making a fucking superhero film. We don't need a bold voice. We need you to poop out the same shit as the rest.
Exactly.
Now hurry up and get in line.
So, what is the true story? But, it's interesting to see someone, at least for 1 second, rally against the studio and say, look, man, this ain't my fucking fault. Get off my balls.
Well, yeah, that's cool and all, but he shouldn't have done it.
You don't think he should have done it?
Nah, well, it's just stupid, isn't it? Like, that's the system that you're a part of. And, like, if you want to work with these people again, which you do, presumably, because they're the ones with the purse strings, holding the purse strings, well, what do? You get on your knees and you open your mouth. You know, you fucking smile about it. That's the biz, man.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, move to Hollywood and it'll happen pretty quick, I imagine.
I'm looking forward to that experience as my creative integrity is compromised by a big dick in my mouth.
Yes.
So, yeah, well, look, I think that, he might be a little bit hard done by, but at the same time, if everyone is saying that you suck and you don't really suck, other people suck around you, you do want to say something, right?
Of course you do. Of course I do.
So many creative things on the zombie film.
Yeah,
so many creative disagreements.
There are so many, obviously, there are some things that we would like to air that we simply cannot. You can't just be making enemies left, right, and center because things didn't go, how you wanted them to go. And sometimes things, as a result of these differences, the film might have turned out differently. Arguably, like some of the things that we don't like about it might have been different had they been done in a different way, But it's like, well, you can't just, basically you can't let loose and just make enemies out of everybody that's ever fucked up on your film, because, A, we don't know why, it's not always that they're incompetent. It's, just circumstances. And B, in this industry, you've got to keep working, and it's all about your rep. It's all about your rep, and you do besmirch your good rep when you come clean and come out there and say, "Oh, this person was shit for this reason." On the one hand, it helps defend you. But I think it does reflect negatively on you as well. It's kind of like a gossip, like oftentimes when a gossip is gossiping to me about something and they give me some information about somebody. Now I do take on that information about that person. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But oftentimes I more take on information about the person who's doing the gossiping.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm learning about you here, aren't I?
Yeah.
And so I guess, it does reflect negatively if you do let loose.
Well, it's a tricky one. I think the timing was wrong. Because the timing is
just before the film comes out. That's not a good time.
Like I would have give it a year and then be like, look, let's be real here. This was not the film that I envisioned, and here's why. I feel like in a year's time, it's going to make all its money that it needs to make. If you want to distance yourself from it, you can.
Well, also, if he had waited a year, he could maybe try and do like a director's cut or something like that. Maybe he could pitch, if he had it in him, he could pitch a director's cut, and maybe the studio would go for it. They'd say, oh, okay, well, why not? We can wring a couple more $1 million out of this.
That's the weird thing too, because had he said that, had he gone like, well, okay, like the film is still going to be successful, still going to make a lot of money. So how about we make all this money with your version of film, and then we we go back. You'll just make more money. More people are going to buy it. The people that liked it first, they're going to buy it because they want to see it. The people that didn't like it will buy it because they're curious. This is everyone just wins because how much more, work is it? It's just editing. It's time. I think that whatever that time costs will be completely reasonable for the profit involved. And I would certainly agree with that. So, maybe that was the
path he should have taken.
Discretion is the better part of valor, as they say.
So if you're listening, Trank,
Josh Trank,
you should change your ways.
He did delete the tweet.
Right.
And he is never sort of like...
Yeah, but you can't delete a tweet.
Oh, not on the internet.
Everybody, learn this lesson. You cannot delete a tweet. You can delete it, but it's already out there.
It's already gone.
If it has blown up, then it's out there.
Yeah.
I actually posted one last night that I was moderately concerned.
Yeah. Do you want to say what it is?
Yeah. It was because last night the All Blacks played rugby.
Yep.
And I tweeted out, the All Blacks better win tonight or I'm going to beat my wife.
Hashtag rugby.
Now, look, I'm actually making a political statement here. I think that rugby does, increase this kind of aggressive. It's a very aggressive sport.
Yeah.
And, you get a lot of these guys that, they drink piss all afternoon and then watch the game.
Also,
and then if we lose, they get aggressive. They go out in town, they're beating people up. Or, they're,
absolutely.
Domestic violence and so on.
Also, there is even a culture within rugby, like a lot of there's just been this thing of, so not rugby union, but it's rugby league. A league star has just been charged with domestic abuse. It's far from the first time this has happened.
Yeah.
Now, what are no one should be beating anyone, right? Yeah. No one should be attacking women, of course. But what are the strongest men in the world, the strongest, biggest, hulking, most dominant men in the world doing, laying their hands on women?
Yeah.
That is even worse because you could do far more it's, it's obviously inexcusable either way, but that's just even more disturbing to me.
Yeah, well, me as a little,
you,
weed, when I beat women,
when you beat women,
it doesn't really hurt.
It's not a big deal because your punch is there's not much behind it.
It's like a kitten. It's more of a stroke. More of a stroke from a kitten.
But when these guys beat women, it's a real problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It really hurt them.
Yeah. But so I was a little concerned, before I posted that tweet.
Yeah.
I was kind of like
I retweeted that one.
Yeah, I know. A couple of people did. It was good. I put hashtag All Blacks, hashtag rugby.
Was that on Facebook as well?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't do it on Facebook. I
want to make a statement.
Dude, I drafted it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I drafted it on Facebook, and then I was like, I just don't know if I can put this one out there, because on the one hand, I'm not actually talking about domestic violence. I'm really talking about rugby and how bad some of the things about rugby are that I don't like, and the culture surrounding it. But, on Facebook, people wouldn't necessarily see that. On Facebook, they'd just be like, is this guy making a joke about domestic violence? And they'll be like, oh, boo-hoo, I was, beaten and this happened and that happened, and then there could be a whole bunch of stuff there. And I was kind of
Facebook shitstorm.
Basically a Facebook shitstorm.
You didn't want the internet outrage to outrage on you on it.
Yeah. So I was, plus I know a lot more, on Facebook, there's a lot of people I actually know, whereas on Twitter, I think they're all just randoms. I don't even know who they are, plus there's a lot less of them. So basically I half chickened out.
Right.
And relegated it to Twitter.
Your bold political statement was somewhat diluted.
Yes. But, if it had blown up on the old Twitter, I'd say I would have left it there.
Yeah.
Just lapped up the controversy and lapped up the followers and so on that came with it.
So we all have to see this for ourselves sometimes. Now, the final thing I just want to mention is Jermaine Clement.
Yes.
Now, we all know him from Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
What We Do in the Shadows. Eagle vs. Shark. And he's been in a bunch of Men in Black 3.
Right, yeah. I don't think I saw that one.
He was the main bad guy in it.
Right,
He was completely unrecognizable. It was really strange casting because they basically cast him as this bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Who's not particularly funny.
Yeah.
So no real jokes.
Yeah.
Just a villain.
Yeah.
Completely unrecognizable.
Yeah.
He's, got on a kind of alien outfit. You can't tell that it's Jermaine Clement.
Yeah.
And they just, apparently, I think it's Barry Levinson, the director, really kind of just cast him because he liked Flight of the Conchords.
Right.
But there's no... It was kind of weird casting because there's no... Why cast this funny guy who's never played a villain to play a villain that's not funny? It's really strange.
And did it work?
He was completely fine in it. He wasn't bad at all. But it was just a weird choice for all involved.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was like, yeah, of course I'll do this with no problem. It's easy money. But it's just strange. It's really bizarre. But anyway, he just announced he's doing a new show with my friend Taika Waititi's, where HBO show, another HBO follow-up for Flight of the Conchords, but it's being executive produced by Judd Apatow.
Are they playing Kiwis?
I don't know what they're doing.
Because if they're playing Kiwis, that's awesome.
I don't know, but, they're conceiving of it, they're writing it, they're directing it. It's all them. But yeah, Judd Apatow was executive producing it. Judd Apatow, the director of 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, basically every funny comedy in the last 15 years, he has either produced or directed, or had some hand in. And all his sort of comedy alumni have all kind of gone on to be the funniest people in the business.
Yeah.
And he keeps kind of doing it with new talent. He produced Girls, which was Lena Dunham's new show, which was very funny, but he gave her that opportunity, and now he's just done Trainwreck with Amy Schumer. So he's very prolific and also just doing funny things all the time. It's really quite awesome. And like, he's just a supporter of comedy. It's great. But to be involved when Judd Apatow is huge, you know, there's nothing bigger in comedy. There's nothing bigger. And, you know, these two guys from New Zealand are doing that.
Yeah.
And this is a little quote from Jermaine about it. He says, basically, it's
you
like...
do it in Jermaine's voice?
No, I can't do Jermaine's voice.
What's the matter with you? You can't do Jermaine's voice?
I can't do Jermaine's voice. I'm not a Fly the Conchords impersonator like you. This is one of the skills I don't have. I can do Sam Gamgee from fucking Lord of the Rings.
Okay, well, you better read it as Sam Gamgee from Lord of the Rings then.
It's like the Twilight Zone, but comedy. There is a theme so far in that all of the ones we've written about are about time. And
broke character.
Like Fly the Conchords, the series, was turned down in New Zealand.
Yeah.
This is another show that we pitched to TVNZ about 8 years ago. Clement laughs. But they didn't even answer us.
Right.
And this is, I guess I just thought that was interesting because it's like, this is so disturbing to me that you have arguably the two most talented comedy guys in New Zealand, proven, apart from us.
But
is that what you're going to interrupt?
Yeah, the second
the second
most.
Well, we're not proven.
No.
They're proven.
They're the second funniest team in
the
comedy.
Second funniest duo in comedy next to Guy and Harley.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they were turned down for Fly the Conchords, which again is ridiculous when you watch Fly the Conchords because it's very funny and it really kind of put New Zealand on the map in a way. Is like, because before that, whenever you'd watch a New Zealand comedy, you'd go, we're not really funny. We can't do comedy.
Yeah, this is not funny.
We are not good. We're terrible.
But and then now as well, like when you ask an American what they know about New Zealand, 9 times out of 10 they say Lord of the Rings, Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
It's huge.
100%.
Huge.
And, you know, HBO, like there's also a funny story how HBO called them and they're like, do you want to know how much money we're going to offer you to do a season 3 of the Flight of the Conchords? And they go, nope. And they go, no, don't you want to just know the number? And they go, nope, we don't want to know.
Yeah.
Because if we know, we'll do it.
Yeah.
But we don't want to know because we're not going to do it because we're too burnt out.
Yeah.
You know, but I just thought it was really interesting. That's a creative decision for them that they kind of turned down a ridiculous sum of money to do something just because they felt, you know, that time was over and they didn't have the energy for it.
Yeah. Well, I do remember reading something saying that, like, you know, the thing was with the first season, they used all of their songs, which were these songs they've been working on and perfecting for years and touring with. And, you know, they really knew them inside out and they really had them down, you know, to this, that they were perfect. You know? And then season 2, suddenly they had, you know, whatever, 6 months or however long to write all of these songs that had to go in season 2, and you know they had to be just created out of nothing, you know, and perfected within that time, you know. And I read something saying that was very difficult. Yeah, well, and there was sort of another thing where he basically said, like, so we didn't really have a break between the first and second season, and we just basically worked for 2 years, just every day for 2 years, and that's what they kind of like. They just could not, you know, they weren't like loving it by the end of it because they'd literally been working every day for 2 years. Yeah. And so, you know, the kind of the love and the passion for it was not there because, you know, if you do 2 years, look, if I was making something for 2 years every day, I'd be fed up with it. Yeah, like the zombie film. Exactly. Like, you know how you fed up with the zombie film. Well, no, because I've had days off here and there for that. You know, although sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And so, you know, but I just thought it was interesting that, like, here is the funniest people in New Zealand pitching like another funny show, which Judd Apatow, the funniest person, the funniest producer in the world, has kind of verified, has gone like, these guys are awesome and talented and obviously this will be really good. And yet here in New Zealand, we, like, you know,
they do not dignify a response to that idea.
Yeah, but so they pitched it 8 years ago, though.
Yeah, well, and there
was
weren't...
Flight of the Conchords out at that point? So it was just another one of the shows that they pitched. They pitched Flight of the Conchords and this one, and Flight of the Conchords, they said no to that, and this one, they just didn't even respond to this one.
Yeah, they didn't even respond to this one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, at the risk of just going completely against what I just said before about opening your mouth and getting on your knees, you know, I am going to say this anyway, which is, it sometimes seems like the people that hold the purse strings in New Zealand couldn't tell their ass from their fucking elbow.
Yeah.
You know, like, they don't really seem to know, like, what's good, and it seems that they consistently...
Get it wrong?
Choose the wrong thing and then fuck with it and make it even worse.
Yeah.
You know, like, it seems like basically you've got these like middle-aged, you know, white people with all the money who don't really know what the creative side of things is, and they're not necessarily like really creative people themselves, and yet they're the ones making the decisions about what's going to be the next big creative hit and how it should be created. You know, and it doesn't make sense. It's like, it's too much meddling. You know, it seems to me that they need to be just handling the money side of things.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and like, you know, that's the thing is like, you have to take chances and risks. That's the only way creatively you do interesting things.
But sadly, interesting things aren't necessarily going to make you money. You know, oftentimes what you need if you want to make some money is you need to take an existing concept and just shit out your version of it. So that's why they've got on TV3 currently, they've got Come Dine With Me.
Yep.
You know, which is like a knockoff of, you know, the English Come Dine With Me. And, you know, I think in England, I think it's actually, I mean, I've never seen it. I think it's actually quite good. I think they get quite drunk, they get quite loose, you know, as far as reality shows go, you know, and then I think that this New Zealand one, which has been critically panned,
right.
You know, it's basically like this kind of just this bad New Zealand version of a crap reality show. But I'm sure they made their money out of it. I'm sure that, you know, through their sponsors and all that stuff. I mean, it's on at prime time, you know, so that's what you got to do. Dancing with the Stars, X Factor, you know, X Factor NZ.
But we do have such a terrible habit of taking that existing property and doing it about 10 times worse because we don't have the money or resources. And it's like, what happens if we just did our thing? You know? Here's
something else about New Zealand in particular. This is particular to New Zealand, and this is why reality TV doesn't work in New Zealand, and it never has, and it probably never will. The thing is that we're so understated.
Yeah.
You know, us Kiwis are so understated. So, like, if you're watching an American reality show, right? You know, there's this, you know, say there's a sassy woman that walks in and goes, no, you didn't, and she gets fucking pissed off. You know, and she starts swearing, and, you know, they start pulling each other's weaves out. You know, and you know, and there's all this kind of scandal. Or, you know, when they win, you know, they win at the end of the competition, they burst into tears and they fall to the ground. You know, move that bus. You know, and you know, and they're like, you know, they're shitting their pants with excitement.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in New Zealand, you know,
we're so dry.
You know, they're like, you're the winner, and they're like, oh, stoked, eh? That's sweet. That's awesome, man. I'm so happy.
And
that's not interesting to watch.
And that it also creates problems because then in the edit they're trying to manufacture dramas and stories that aren't ever really there.
Yeah.
And then they obviously don't really seem like they're there even when they've kind of tried to push them.
Yeah.
And it just never really comes off. But
it's so obvious as well when they cut, you know, they like say someone's having a conversation and then they'll just cut to someone's face as if, you know, like as if they didn't say anything and they just stared at them.
Yeah.
You know, but in reality, you know that's not at all what happened.
It's just a random
shot from them later.
Yeah.
You know, it's so manufactured and terrible. Well, all of it is. But it's worse in New Zealand because basically we're so understated that nothing's happening.
New Zealand, we need to do better. We need to have more respect for our comedy geniuses. Yes, I'm talking about us.
Yes. Well, you know, really, I truly believe what New Zealand TV needs is it needs more original scripted content by us, so that by us specifically, but by us Kiwis,
yes,
right? So that we can develop this and actually become a creative force. You know, the reason why a lot of the time it's so bad is because we don't get, you know, we've never done a sitcom. You know, there is no New Zealand like sitcom that just doesn't exist. You know, they've been tried, but they've been underfunded and put on at 11 p.m. You know, on Channel 1.
Yep.
You know, like Auckland Days, you know, it wasn't
who's going to watch the Auckland Days? Great show, great idea, but who's going to watch it on Channel 1 at 11 o'clock?
Exactly, and so you know, we need to concentrate more on building up that stuff and just forget about this fucking reality show stuff. It's going nowhere. It's a dead end. You You know, it's just bullshit. But the problem is, and it comes back to you, dear listener, you guys keep consuming it.
Yeah.
You turn on the TV and you watch X Factor or you tweet something about X Factor, you know, you're the problem.
Guess what?
Basically.
New season of X Factor's coming.
New season of X Factor.
Stop
and it's
tweeting
because
about
of
it.
you.
Stop watching it.
Yeah.
Do what we do, which is basically watch all our shows not on TV from America and the UK.
Yeah.
That's what you need to start doing
Yeah.
to make your statement about how disinterested. And then when you have...
also
when
just
yeah.
make sure they watch lots
guy-
of New Zealand scripted content.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and then when the Guy and Harley show debuts, make sure you check that out, talk about it. But anyway, I think...
this is literally the longest
Is it?
podcast
Have we
we've
broken
done.
the record?
We've broken the record.
Have we?
We have. But it's because this one has been spread
It's
out.
a two-parter.
over- It's been spread out over, at least two... Well, we've stopped and started like 4 times.
A lot of good stuff, though.
A lot of good stuff in here. We'll cut some of it out. So, thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, the most important thing that you can do right now for us is IMDb for I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, because it is now available in the States. People are going to be Googling it. People are going to be talking about it. And
That's
now
the first thing that comes up.
Is IMDb, exactly. So make sure you give us a good rating on IMDb, iTunes. Watch the film. It's like, if you're in America,
It's 2 clicks.
It's literally $3.99, I think, to hire it in America on like Amazon or something like that.
Yeah.
So look, guys, give it a chance and give it a good rating.
Thank you very much.
See you next week. You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.